share my screen and we'll see what are the things we have covered so far and what are the things we are going to learn. So if you see my screen here, these are the AWS topics which we already have covered. Okay, these are the AWS topics which we already have covered, like IAM, EC2, S3, EBS, Elastic Block Storage, right? Block Store, Security Group, Snapshot and AMI creation, auto scaling, load balancing, and AWS CLI. These are the most important services which we have already covered, because these are the services. Definitely, if you are going to work on AWS, you need to know or work on these services. Okay, all the companies that are using these are the services they are using. So I hope everyone have little practices on these services. IAM, this is most important. This is the security and access management, right? Identity and access management and security related, access related services, and you should be familiar with that, and what is user, what is a group, what is a role, how to generate the user, and by using the user ID how you'll access the services, right? And what is the different type of access, like programmatic access and console access, what is the difference between those two. All these details you should remember, okay? Otherwise it will be difficult to uh, pass the interview, as well as even though you selected, if you are landed to a project, it will be difficult to do the stuff because you don't remember what exactly it is, right? So always do practice, guys. Even though you don't have any reason to do, simply just open your laptop, log into your AWS management console, because it is only 1 year free, right? You already have spent 2 months, and just 10 months spending. Just get just log in, just take half an hour, 1 hour, log into any AWS, just try to do something. Okay, instead of watching some other videos, Facebook or Insta or anything, just give half an hour or 1 hour in your laptop. Just log into the AWS management console, as try to do and just play around. Okay, there are, as I told, there are many hundreds of services, and we are not going to cover anything, right? We'll just cover 15 to 20 services, or those services which will be used by most of the companies. Okay, so you should know what is the security group, or you should know what is the S3, what is the block storage, what is the object based storage, right? Or how to create a snapshot, what is the benefit of creating a snapshot, right? And what is the AMI, and how to create the AMI, and how to transfer the AMI to a different region, right? Those are the real time. We already have done practices, we already have done the lab classes, right? I have shown you multiple times how we can create a snapshot of the volume, and then create image out of that, and then transfer that image to a different region, and create a machine there. If you recall those things, you can find it out, right? How the image was created and transferred to a different region, and it was being the machine was being created there. And also auto scaling, we should know what exactly auto scaling. Most of the not more, 99% companies, even 100% companies, they are using the auto scaling. Mostly they are using the auto scaling in their because they need to auto scale, right? Speed up their services by using the auto scaling, and they'll be using the load balancing for the disaster recovery, or for the no, to 100% availability of their applications and whatever service they provide to their customer, by using the load balancing and all, right? So all these stops you should do practice, guys. Okay, you have to always at least do once or twice. There will be as I also have told you, like, you must have to follow the documentations of the AWS, and you'll get lots of things, right? Whatever I'm saying, I'm just guiding you, I'm just showing you the path, right? I'm just giving you the basics to the how you take it to the intermediate level, and from intermediate level to expert, it is your duty. Okay, from intermediate level to expert, you have to do by your own way. That's up to you how you'll take it, and how you read it, how you deliver it. So it's up to you, guys. So auto scaling, load balancing, and AWS CLI also. I have already shown you how to install the AWS CLI, how to configure it, and how to use it. I showed you with 2-3 services how to use the AWS. It is very fun, guys. If you do automations, actually take this automation as a fun, guys. Okay, as a fun. If you no do automations, whatever the things, right, the manual things you are doing, just try to put anything, any simple thing. Even even the manual works takes only few minutes, 1 minute or few seconds. Just try to do automations and see how it works. From the small things you try to do it, and you'll definitely, if you go with that, you'll not know when you'll be also doing the big things, right, in the automations. Just keep doing it. And at last, in DevOps we have completed these three things, and there are much more tools we are going to learn, and we have to speed up the things, right? We have to speed up the things, otherwise we will not complete within the 3 months or 4 months. So good. So we have completed all this. If you have any doubt or anything, guys, I think nobody is correcting except Jyoti. Jyoti is doing exceptionally brilliant work and studying all the time, I think. And all the time he used to ask me the doubt, and he used to share the screenshot, and he used to tell me. And immediately after the class, he used to do practices and complete the work. And what I feel, he is almost 70% is ready to face the interviews. I think I'll just wait for just Jyoti to wait for 2 more tools, Terraform or to complete Ansible and complete AWS. Then you will be ready for the interview, and definitely you'll be do good in the interviews and all. Thanks, and everyone, I expect everyone to do the same thing. So just do practice, okay, and just do practice, because as you're not saying any doubts or anything, and definitely you'll not doing any practice. Automation, definitely, if you're doing any DevOps and automations, you'll get n number of issues, n number of errors, n number of bugs, and you have to fix it. How? Just use Google, try to find the what error you are getting, try to get it. See, for one issues you may get different kind of resolutions, right? One problem you may get different kind of resolutions. Try to get both 2, 2, 3, 4 resolutions, try to find out which is the best and take it. Different ways, everyone has different ideas, right? How you will take it, the automation is based on the ideas. I have one ideas, I want to go with northwest and then east. If Gunjesh has some other ideas, you'll go with north, south, and then east. It depends on how you take it and which one will be easiest for you, right? That's the mindset, how you want to take it further, how you want to make the things very easy, right? It's up to you. Good enough. Let's start. So what we'll do today, we'll go with Route 53. So now we'll just go with a networking concept that is called Route 53. So what is Route 53? What is Route 53 and how we'll just know that? Let me just go to the Route 53. Let me open the documents here. Okay, as you know, AWS has many services, right? If you go here, if you go to the networking section, right? Networking and content delivery. In this networking and content delivery, you'll find Route 53. Route 53 is a scalable DNS and domain name registration service. DNS registration service. So let's see what exactly Route 53 and how to use that, and what is the benefit and what is the beneficial of using this Route 53, okay, and where you have used Route 53. What exactly Route 53 is? AWS Route 53 is a highly available and scalable managed DNS, that is domain name service. So if you guys don't know what exactly a domain and what is the DNS and domain name service, you'll be seeing like whatever you are using, facebook.com, instagram.com, right, or youtube.com, or anything, google.com, all these are the domain name service. All are the domain name, not service, domain name. or host name. You can say as host name or domain name. So similarly, DNS is a collection of, what is a domain name service? It is a collection of rules and records which helps clients understand how to reach a server through URL. If you do google.com, so that is the domain name where we are going to hit in the web browser, right? When you hit google.com, what will happen? It will internally reach to a server where Google's database and Google server will be hosted. We are seeing that google.com is the domain name that is being visible to our naked eyes, right? But in behind there will be multiple records, multiple rules being set off, and that will work based on the rules they have set up to reach out the server. And we'll see in details, okay, how we'll set up a DNS. We'll see how the DNS is being routed to different servers based on the rules we set off. Everything, the anatomy of the DNS will do in our lab classes, okay? And make sure whatever you are doing, same day you do practice and try to get more whatever I am teaching you. As I told, I am teaching you just the intermediate level, basic to intermediate level. I'm just guiding you, showing you path, and you have to take it further, right? So just do whatever I'm just teaching you. Try to Google it, try to read the documentations of AWS, try to understand more whatever I'm delivering to you. Okay, so DNS is a collection of rules and records which helps clients understand how to reach a server through the URLs. Now, Amazon Route 53 effectively connects user requests to infrastructure running in AWS such as Amazon EC2, Elastic Load Balancing, okay, or Amazon S3 bucket. So I am going, guys, step by step and service, one service after another service, because all are interrelated. So if you don't know what is EC2, what is load balancing, what is Amazon S3, then directly going to networking and running this Route 53, you will not understand. You'll think, what is this EC2, what is this S3, what is this load balancing. Now you can easily understand, right? S3 bucket, EC2 instances, load balancing, easily, because you already have covered these topics, right? Now what it says, Amazon Route 53 effectively connects user requests to infrastructure running in AWS such as Amazon EC2 instances, load balancing, or Amazon S3 buckets. So let's see how the records being set and what are the records. So in the AWS, the most common records are A record. This is for quadrennial fourth A record, Cname record, alias record. So what is this A record? A record is URL to IPv4, and this fourth A record is URL to IPv6, and Cname is, that is canonical name. Remember, you may get questions on the interviews, or if you're doing any certification, you may get asked what is the Cname and how it works. You may get questions, what is the Cname and how it works, okay? I'll just explain you how it works later in the lab classes, okay? So the Cname is URL to URL conversion. These are the conversions, like URL to IPv4 conversion, URL to IPv conversion, okay, and URL to URL conversion, and alias means URL to AWS resources. So these are the records which we are going to set off in our Route 53 domain. We'll see how we can do those kind of setups. Now, so what is the hosted zone? We just saw the type of records and how we will set off these records in our DNS. To set off these records, we need a hosted zone. So what is the hosted zone? A hosted zone is a container for records, and records contain information about how you want to route traffic for a specific domain. Got it? A hosted zone is a container of container for records. That's why I said whatever the records we just learned, those will be set up and hosted in a hosted zone. So it is a container for records, and records contains information about how you want to route the traffic for a specific domain. Okay, if you see here, suppose I have a domain called ranjitswine.com, and its subdomain is mail.ranjitswine.com and aim.ranjitswine.com. Okay, now if I go to Google, right, let's get an example of Google. So if you do gmail.com, right, gmail.com, what will happen? It will directly redirect the traffic to the Gmail server, right? Again, if I do mail.google.com, what it will do? It will also redirect to the Gmail server, right? And another way is like we can use google.com mail. It will also redirect to the Google server. So in a different way you can do that. How? Based on the rules and records you have set up, right? So similarly, it is mentioned here, if I use mail.ranjitswine.com, it will just open the mail server, and even if I do type m.ranjitswine.com, it will also hit the mail server of Ranjitswine, right? So this is how you do setups. Now, a hosted zone and the corresponding domain have the same name. A hosted zone and the corresponding domain have the same name. What does this mean? Hosted zone and the corresponding domain have the same name. Means suppose you open a domain, ranjitswine.com is a domain name, and if you want to get the hosted zone, you have to get the hosted zone for this domain name as it is the equal name of the domain. The same domain name will have a hosted zone. Okay, so there are two types of hosted zones. One is public hosted zone and another one is the private hosted zone. So what is the public hosted zone? Contains records that specify how you want to route traffic on the internet. That means public facing internet, like anyone. Suppose I do type ranjitswine.com, right? So it is a public, it is hosted publicly, right? Anyone can just type ranjitswine.com and you'll get the website open for you. And this website is entirely hosted on AWS. This website is entirely hosted on AWS. I'll show you how you can set off the records to route the AWS, to route the domain to a different, or to route the domain to different traffic to a different server, right? I'll show you is the everything. Now this is the public hosted zone. This means this domain or DNS is hosted publicly. Okay, now when you register a domain with Route53, we create a hosted zone for you automatically. That means in Route, if you are going to use the Route53 to buy a domain, if you are going to use Route53, as Route53 is a DNS, okay, domain name service. It is a domain management service, okay, domain managed DNS service. So if you are going to use Amazon Route53 to buy a domain, what will happen? If you get a domain registered, automatically it will create a hosted zone for you. When you register a domain with Route53, Amazon will create a hosted zone. I'll just modify this. Amazon will create a hosted zone for you automatically. Okay. Now what is the private hosted zone? Private hosted zones contains records that specify how you want to route traffic in an Amazon VPC. So we have a different 2 to 3 days of classes only on VPC. Only on VPC we have 2 to 3 days classes, and I have kept this at the end of this AWS courses. We have a big project, okay. VPC is nothing but your virtual private cloud. that is type of VPN, virtual private network, right? VPN. Similarly, VPC, virtual private cloud. We'll see how we can create our own network. Before creating our own network, you should have some understanding on the Route 53, understanding on the network concepts, right? Creating subnets and all. So before you going to learn VPC, I'm going to finish up the networking stuff. Okay. So private hosted zones contains records that specify how you want to route traffic in an emergent VPC. Okay, this is a private hosted zone. Now, let's see how the DNS works. The domain name system, right? DNS, domain name service, a domain name system, is the phone book of the internet. The DNS is a phone book of the internet. It used to convert human friendly domain names into an IP address. Human friendly domain name. So for human friendly, it will be easy to remember, because human friendly name, it will be easy to remember, like facebook.com, google.com. If you remember ranjitswine.com, it is no friendly name, you can easily understand, easily remember, right? It is a domain name which will be converted to an IP address, and this IP address is nothing but address of a server, of a machine, of a server or of a machine. If you see this diagram here, right, the customer, the user, they are just using in the browser, they'll just type suppose ranjitswine.com. What will happen? The DNS, this DNS, domain name system, what will happen? It will convert to the IP address. So what this is the phone book of the internet. If you see in the old days, right, if you have a landline connection, you will have a directory of the phone books, right? It will have a big huge 1,000 pages of a book having all the name and with respect to the name, that will the phone number, right? Name and the phone number. So if you want the particular person to reach to out the particular person, then you have to dial this phone number. It will have all the records. Similarly, in the domain name system also, it just manages all the domain name records with the respective IP addresses. Okay, so if you dial this number, it will reach to this IP address, right? Similarly, it will be done. It will resolve to this IP address, and this will be hosted in a server, okay, in any app server or any kind of server. Now, what is IPv4 and IPv6? This is Internet Protocol version 4 and Internet Protocol version 6. And it's your duty now, you need to understand what is Internet Protocol. Okay, if you don't understand what exactly Internet Protocol is, I think everyone belongs to technical background, right? We are BTech. Most of you already should know what is the Internet Protocol, what is the IP. So the IP address are used by computers to identify each other on the network. There are two forms like IP addresses, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 is 32-bit field, and it has over 4 billion different addresses, approximately this one. Now, as the internet era or the digital platform has increased vastly, right? In the world, everyone from the child to the old person, everyone has the mobile phone having 1 or 2 SIMs installed in the mobile phone. Will have multiple networks, multiple servers being created. So now what happens? Due to that, what will happen? The IPv4, as it is 32-bit field, the address has already reached, right? If you think about a town, right? Think about Bengaluru. If you see the Bengaluru has that limited capacity when before, if you think 10 years before, it has the specific limited areas where the peoples, mostly the IT peoples and other outsiders were staying. As it is, the population increased. What they did, they are now reaching out to the Mysore side, Hosur side, right? All these sides they are spreading across the Bangalore areas because they are expanding it due to the increase of the population. Similarly, the IPv4, the Internet Protocol addresses, has almost reached in this 5th generation. In this 5th generation, It's already reached. Now what they need? They need the IPv6, where they need more internet addresses, more spaces to allocate the new server created, new users to be allowed to use the internet, right? For that, their IPv6 was created to solve these issues and has an address space of 128 bits, which is 340 on decillion addresses, which is more enough to cover the entire earth. This 128 bits address is more than enough to cover the entire earth. That means we are not going to see any shortage, at least in our 10 or 20 number of generation, even 100 number of generations, right? We are not going to see any shortage of internets. Now it is actually alpha numeric IP addresses that is comes up. You can see here it has 128 bit and alphanumerical IP addresses here, right? So that's all about this IPv4 IP. Just I gave you the hints and basics on that. If you want to learn more on IPv6 and get more details, IPv4 and IPv6, just Google it and find it out what exactly this internet protocol and how it works. Okay, go little depth on that if you want to go. If not, that's okay, not a problem. Now, what is the top level domain? This is very important to understand. The last word in a domain name represents the top level domain, and the second word in a domain name is known as the second level domain. So if you see, there will be name like google.com, google.in, google.co.in. In case of google.com, so .com will be your top level. .com will be your top level, only one level domain. But in case of .co.in or .gov.in, what is that? .in is the top level and .co is the second level. Okay, here also .gov second level, .in is the top level. So the top level domain controlled by the Internet Assigned Number Authority, that is IANA, called as Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. Okay, that's called IANA in a root zone database. Because everything whatever being controlled in the internet, there must be a database which store all the records, right? So this database is maintained by and controlled by Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. Okay, and if you want to see it, there is a domain name here. I'll just ping you this one. Let's see this. Okay, if you see this domain routes DB, you'll find all the details. Suppose this AAA, who manages this American Automobile Associations, this is a generic type. Okay, and if I see .in, right, .in for India, if I go for .in, country code .in, it's the top level domain .in, country code, and this is National Internet Exchange of India, right? So this is the root database which is managed by the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. Okay, now what is a domain register? We saw what is a domain. Now what is a domain register? A register, every company, whenever you go for any registration, you'll find a registrar will be sitting, will do register on behalf of you, right? See, you cannot directly go and purchase anything. If you are going to any government things to do a deal or to get some contracting or to get some assignment or project for a government project, you have to go through a different government channels, right? You have to go to a registrar office to do some registrations, and then you have to follow some other registration office, and lots of things you have to follow. Similarly, there is a domain registration. You cannot directly go and buy a domain. You have to go through a registrar. You have to go through a registrar to buy a domain. So a registrar is an authority that can assign domain names directly under one or more top level domains. It is the authority to authority, you can say the authority dealer or something will go and buy a domain or registered domain on behalf of you, and these domains are registered with Inter-NIC, a service of ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names. ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names, which enforce uniqueness of domain names across Internet. So you'll see there will be definitely no duplicate of domain name. If there is ranjitswine.com is already purchased by me, nobody else can purchase it, with the same name already been registered. Okay, same name is already been registered. Now each domain name gets registered in a central database known as Whois database. So there are few registered like godaddy.com, Amazon, bigrock.in, Hostinger, right? All these are the register through which you do register your domain. So I have registered domains with GoDaddy, I have registered domain with Amazon, bigrock, or even Hostinger. Okay, I have around 7 to 8 domains I have purchased, and I have used all of them. I have used GoDaddy, I have used Amazon. With Amazon I have 3 domain names. With GoDaddy I have 4 domain names, right? With bigrock I had, but not now. Hostinger I have 1 domain name. Okay, so like that you can choose any registrar to buy or register a domain. Okay, and this ranjitswine.com, right, is registered with Amazon. I have multiple other, right, if I go our MB Aquatech or marlinblue.in. Okay, so these sites or these domains being registered with godaddy.com. So it's up to you which register you want to choose to buy your own domain. Okay, now this is the role of a registrar. Now let's see what is this SOA, Start of Authority Record. The SOA record stores the information about the names of the server that supplied the data for the zones, the administrator of the zone, the current version of the data file. This is the SOA record stores this information, Start of Authority Record. Okay, and the NS is the name server records, is called as NS name server records. They are used by the top level domain servers to direct the traffic to the content DNS server, which contains the authoritative DNS records. Okay, so here is an example here. Suppose if I dial ranjitswine.com, what will happen? The NS, the name server, has the records of setting of these IP addresses. What will happen? The name server translates or resolutions happens the human readable or memorable domain names and host names into the corresponding numerical internet protocol. So whenever you type this one, it will convert to the IP address by whom? By the name server. Remember, this will be a question. Who does the translations of domain name or human readable name to the IP address? Who transfers or translates the domain name to the IP address? There will be a question. The question will be the name server, NS. Okay, the name server who does the translations of domain name or host name to the IP addresses. Okay, so the second principal namespace of the internet, which is used to identify and locate computer systems and resources on the internet. Okay, that is the name server. The next one is the A record. Okay, what is this A record? An A record is the fundamental type of DNS record, domain name system record. The A record stands for address. A for address. The A record is used by a computer to translate the name of the domain to an IP address. So the A record does the translate of domain to IP addresses. That is the A record. But who does it actually? It is being done by the name server, NS. It is being done by the name server record. So the name server record is having a sub record of A record, which actually does the conversion of or translation of the domain name to the IP addresses. Okay, as you can see this picture here, it is a internet book, it is, sorry, telephone diary or telephone directory, where you can see all the numbers with the phone number and all, the name with the phone number, right? Similarly, a record will have a domain name with the respective IP address. When you dial this particular hit that particular domain name, it will convert to the IP address. Okay, now if you see this diagram here, simple things, simple diagrams here, if I do a slide slow, it will be a good visual how A records works. So if a browser, if you hit ranjitswine.com, what will happen? The Route 53. Okay, what will happen if you are registered with Amazon? If you registered with Amazon Route 53, what will happen? The browser, if you type ranjitswine.com, the Route 53 will convert it to the respective IP address. So here what will happen? URL to IP address. URL to, you can see here, URL to IP address, right? You hit by a URL and it converts by the IP addresses by the Route 53. It converts to the IP address by the Route 53. Okay, and then what happens? This IP addresses goes back to the HTTP request, goes back to the application server, and then application server display the actual content in the web browser. If you see here, the HTTP request goes to this particular application server, and this application response, HTTP response, you get it back to the web browser and we get the actual content. See, this is how the conversion works by the Route 53. So here is the main service which does this conversion. Okay, now what is a Cname? Okay, this class will be completely theoretical because we have lot more thing to learn. Okay, what is the theoretical things? I'll complete the theoretical and then we'll do have a lab class. Okay, so what is a Cname? A canonical name, because networking concept was, you should understand what exactly you are going to do. So theoretical will be more, and even practical, 50% theoretical, then 60-70%, 50% will be your practical. Okay, if you understand completely what exactly the meaning of a Cname, meaning of a record, what the NS does, what the register does, okay, how the Route 53 handles, then it will be easy for you to do the lab classes. Okay, so similar, the canonical name or Cname can be used to resolve one domain to another domain. This is URL to URL. Okay, suppose I have a mobile domain name, as I said, suppose m.ranjitswine.com, and is used to when user browser browse the domain using the mobile phones. I may also want the name as mobile.ranjitswine.com to resolve the same address. Okay, so when I type this m.ranjitswine.com, it will get resolved with mobile.ranjitswine.com. okay, automatically gets resolved. That is the URL to URL. If you go to this one, Cname is URL to URL. Okay, that's why when you type m.ranjitswine.com, it will get resolved to mobile.ranjitswine.com. Now, what is the alias records? The alias records are used to map resource record sets in your hosted zone to elastic load balancers, CloudFront distributor, or S3 buckets that are configured as websites. Okay, so it works like canonical name or Cname record, where we can map one DNS to another target DNS name. So the alias record works very usefully if you are going to use any AWS resources or services. So here actually what happens, if you type this ranjitswine.com, it is actually not resoluting to a IP address, to an IP address. What is happening? It is getting resolved to a alias record, to a record which is being hosted in a S3 bucket. So my domain, my content, my domain actually being hosted into a S3 bucket. Okay, I'll show you how you can use S3 to host your own domain. You can also register your own domain name, and you can easily host your website into your S3 bucket. By using your S3 bucket, you can easily host it, and that is what alias record is does. You will set the records to route the traffic. If someone types ranjitswine.com, it will route the traffic to this address where your actual content or application is running. Okay, so this is how the alias record works. Okay, this is enough for today. Theoretical, we have a lot more to learn. Okay, I'm not going to, and it will be overwhelmed if I cover all these things. It will be bounced. Let's have some lab, whatever we have covered so far, right? The theoretical. Let's have some lab classes and see how it works. Okay, the first thing is we need to register a domain. Then we'll see how we can do the setups. Okay, let me log into the, so this is, let me sign out this account. This account does not have anything, so I'll just log into my parent account. FA code. Sorry. Okay, so this is my first account with Amazon. I had created 7 years before, I think this account was created. Now I'm still managing this account. I'm paying every month whatever bill is being charged. Okay, so here what is this? We have what are we going to learn? This Route 53. Okay, so I have in the recently visited, you can find it Route 53, or you can go to the services, go to the what, networking and content delivery. There you can find this Route 53. Okay, now what is Route 53? It actually, we can see how we can set off the domain names. You can see here first page in the dashboard, Route 53 dashboard, we have this. See, the first thing is, what is a Route 53? It is a DNS management service. You can simple word, simple line, you can say it is a DNS management service by Amazon, by AWS. Okay, Route 53 manages the DNS. Now I have two hosted zones. I have two hosted zones. That's why I have two domains here. I have registered two domains with Amazon. That's why I have two hosted zones created. Now let's see what are the domains being there. I have two domains will be there. It's called marlinbluetech.com and ranjitswine.com. These two were created in this Amazon Route 53, and it says the policy protections all contacts expiration date, it gets expired on December 11th. Before that I have to renew, and I have selected auto renew, so that it will be automatically get renewed based on your credit card or debit card you have set up with your account. Okay, now how will you register the domain? Okay, if you see this Marlin Blue Tech also, if I go and type marlinbluetech.com, it will be also get directly to this Marlin Blue Technologies. Okay, and this is entirely being hosted on the Amazon. Okay, I'll show you how we can host those kind of websites. Okay, now, so how you'll do register a domain? If you go to the registered domain registration, so you can find register a domain, transfer the domain. Okay, if you want to transfer a domain, means if you already have a domain with GoDaddy. Okay, if you have a domain with GoDaddy, what you can do, you can simply Ankit, can you go mute please? Thank you. So what do you do here? um, Register domains. So register, we can either register a domain or transfer a domain. So what will happen here, if you have a domain with GoDaddy or Hostinger or BigRock.in, if you want to transfer to the Amazon, you can use this option transfer domain to transfer a domain from other registrar to the Amazon register. Okay, and if you want to register a new domain, click on this. Okay, choose a domain name, and if you see the price, you can see the prices here. If you're going to choose .com, right, see all the prices. If you're going to choose .com, then you have to pay $12 per year, I think. Okay, $12 per year. So it will be, if you can convert to the Indian currency, it will be around 900 something, right? 12 USD INR. Okay, 956 rupees per year you have to pay. This is almost 1000 rupees you have to pay per year for a domain name if you're going to register with this. Okay, so guys, that is why I have multiple domains with multiple registrar. So whenever, this is a solution architect things you have to do, guys. If you are going to purchase a domain, first thing, whenever a person is choosing something, right, for his own business or for his company, what he or she has to check first, the price, right? How much I'm going to pay if I'm going to use the domain for 1 year. Amazon is giving me $12 per year, okay, with no discount, I believe. If I go to GoDaddy, right, if I go to godaddy.com, what we'll see here, they'll have lots of offers. See, get a .com domain for 399 rupees for first year, and they're very clever. If they're tempting you, right? The first year they are giving 400 rupees. Okay, 400 rupees they are giving first year, and the next year they'll increase it. Even though they increase, it will be under 600 or 700, 600 rupees, that not more than that. Okay, and if you can see here, .com they are offering 399 rupees, .in they are offering 149 rupees, and for .io they are offering 3499 rupees. Like Jenkins.io, right, Docker.io, all these IO things, there is costly actually. They are giving more than 10,000 domain names also are there. Okay, more than 10,000 names. But we are happy with this .in or .com. Fine. See, GoDaddy is offering, this is the price. If I go with Amazon, this offering $12. Okay, let's, because we are not going to learn these things, we are going to learn this Route 53, and that is not only the domain. See, they also give offer if you are going to get a bunch amount or professional domains or anything. Obviously they are going to give you some discounts on that. Okay, now let's choose a domain. Suppose I go with ranjitswine.com. if I check it here, so what it says, it is unavailable. It is unavailable. With that, it giving the related domain suggestions. You have all these suggestions available. Okay, we have all these suggestions available with ranjitswine.link. they are offering $5. Okay, and all these rangiswine.tv offering $32, like that they are just giving it. Based on that, you can choose it and add to cart. If you want this .com, it will not be available. If suppose I am ready to sell my domain, if I am ready to sell my domain, what will happen? I can offer it, suppose for $50. With $50 I am ready to sell this domain. Then whoever is are interested, they can just purchase this domain with $50, and the Amazon will pay me. Okay, that's also happens because most of the company, see, our company is suppose marlinblue.in, right? Marlin Blue, we had a name of Marlin Blue, but whenever initially we had a domain purchased of mbaquatech.com, then I thought of converting it to marlinblue.com. What happens when I searched marlinblue.com? Somebody has already procured that, already bought it, right? When I try to buying that on, what happened? They offered me with 20,000 rupees for the domain. I thought, why I'll spend 20,000? Just wait for another few years, they may reduce it. After that, when I checked, it was increased to 3 lakh rupees, the domain name. Then I left that domain. I cannot spend 3 lakh rupees. Then I went with marlinblue.in, the Indian name marlinblue.in. So that is how you have to deal with. But companies, right, they are buying the domain like anything. If they have monies and they want that domain, they'll even pay for you crore rupees, lakhs of rupees, and they'll buy the domain. That's what most of the people that do, right? They just randomly, they not randomly, with some specific big names, they'll just create the domain and just buy the domain, just kind of invest. They're just investing with the domain name. If somebody is ready to purchase that domain based on their business and all, right, they'll pay for that and buy that domain from you. Okay, that's all about that. That's different name, fine. And if I think this ranjitswine.com also, if I search here in GoDaddy, right, ranjitswine.com, it will not be there. Okay, so it is. So what happens here? See, it says ranjitswine.com domain is taken. Okay, we might be able to help you to get it, right? And they are offering 5,249 to get this domain, but this domain is already purchased by me, right? I'm not sure how they, let's see how they can get it. The domain broker works deal for it. They go to work with domain owner. Okay, if you're ready to buy, they'll come with me and they'll bargain with me. Okay, then trying to get you the lowest possible price, and they'll take 20% commission. I'm not ready to buy, sell with this price. So this is how it works in the market. So you'll get quite good ideas on the domains and how it works, right? Good. Now what will happen here? Let's go to the domain register, and suppose I am just going to get something like okay, suppose something like DevOps batch 5, DevOps batch 5, check, it should be there, right? So it is available and it is $12, devopsbatch5.com. Add to cart. Okay, and register for 1 year. They are offering $12. If you increase this, I think they may reduce. No, they're not reducing. The same price they are selling it, even if you want to buy for 5 years. Okay, suppose let's select for 1 year. Okay, and just continue. Selected, shopping cart, continue. And you have to provide the respective address. Okay, all you have. Okay, automatically it's picking up the address, the previous address which I have registered. That's fine. Now what do you do? After that, you have to verify and purchase. Contact details you have to put it. It's very simple. You have to verify and purchase, and it will be within few minutes. You'll get your domain purchased. Okay, I'll just cancel it, I don't want to buy. So this is how you have to register it. Once you register the domain, it will be yours for 1 year, or based on the year of purchase you purchase it. Okay, once you register your domain, you can go ahead to the hosted zones. Okay, you can see we have DNS management, we have 2 hosted zones. You can go to the hosted zones here. Okay, then you have to set up the records. You have to set up the records. See, in this I have 2 records, sorry, 2 domains being hosted with Amazon Route 53. So what happens here, I have these 2 with public, it's not private hosted zone. We had 2 types, right? Public hosted zone and private hosted zone. These 2 are being used for public hosted zones created by Route 53. I have 16 records. I have 16 records created for marlinblue.com and 5 records only being created for ranjitswine.com. 16 records, it's because of this marlinblue.com has a mail account also. That's why I have added multiple accounts for this marlinblue.com. Okay, so this is the hosted zone ID, and if I go and display this, right, that's fine. If I show it, not a problem. Okay, so we have these records. See how many record names I have. I'm not going to show you these values, okay, because this video is getting recorded and maybe public, so I'm not going to show you these values. This is very important because these are record name and the traffic is being routed to these values, so I'm not going to display these records. See how many records I have. marlinblue.com has a record and is being transferred to some values, right, being transferred to bucket, and MX record, NS record, NS name, and NS has 4 records here set up, 4 values, right, and I have this e.marlinbluetech. This is the canonical name, e.marlinbluetech.com, and it's being, see, it is being transferred to email services, and I have another record here, same record, e.marlinbluetech.com and email.marlinblue.com, and is getting transferred to same email server, right? This is canonical name, that is URL to URL conversion, right? Suppose if I type e.marlinblue.com, okay, sorry, not marlinblue, it is marlinbluetech.com. So it will be transferred to the email server. See, it is getting transferred to the email server. I have this hr@marlinblue.tech I have registered, and again, see, it is being registered with GoDaddy. The mail server is being registered with GoDaddy. Okay, so the email server which is registered with GoDaddy is being set up with this Amazon record, with set up this Amazon. These are the GoDaddy's email server. These are the GoDaddy's email server has been set off with record. See, we have another one is mail.marlinblue.tech.com, right? Mobile email marlinblue.tech, right? So webmail, all these aliases simply